Growing up, I actually felt very lonely my entire childhood, and I didn't know why. So, a lot of people use human design, gene keys, numerology, astrology, and even like Vedic and Western people are fighting over which one's better. That's not how it works. These are all tools. The universe is quantum. The universe is abundant. This is a high-level concept that's been around for a long time. People say it's very new age, but there's actually nothing new age about astrology.
Welcome to the Path to Purpose podcast, where I share incredible conversations with amazing humans who went through a pivotal shift in their lives that have put them on their path of purpose, profit, and impact. My name's Zarak Fatah. I'm a serial entrepreneur and life coach. I went through my own transformational journey where I'm now committed to living a life of inspiration, education, and empowerment. My intention is to share these conversations so they inspire you to also walk your path to purpose. Today we're at the beautiful Casa Madera in Los Angeles, and my good friend Tosh let us set up here to shoot the Path podcast today with my guest Danielle Paige. She's an international spiritual teacher, soul astrologer, host of the Cosmic Body podcast, and founder of Purposely Divine, the School for Your Soul and Astrology Mystery School. She's a self-taught astrologer who's been reading the stars for lifetimes. She continued her studies with some of the world's top astrologers. She then devoted herself to learning different types of healing to create her own style of spiritual medicine. By fusing astrology, energetic healing, and intuition, Danielle is able to help her clients heal their wounds, clear old patterns, and help them come back to their heart. Her work at the core is to bring you back to the true essence of who you are. And I love this quote, "You've had the power all along, my dear." And I love that because I do believe that we have the answers inside us.
Yes.
We just need to quiet the noise and go within. So thank you for joining me here today, Danielle. It's wonderful to see you again. Last time we got together, we were in Miami Beach.
Yes.
Probably over a year ago.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. So good to connect again.
Now here we are in Los Angeles. Yes. You're back to your roots, back here.
For a little while, We both bounce around.
Yes, this is true.
Yes.
And when our paths align, here we are. Yeah, well, thank you for joining me. And
thank
looking
you.
forward to sharing your story because
thank you.
I know a little bit about it, and I know it is a real fascinating story with lots of twists and turns.
Yes.
And I would love for you to share a bit about yourself before you got on this path of being the astrologer, coach, a healer, and doing all the magic that you do to help people come back to themselves. Who were you? What were you doing? What was life like before you began this path of purpose?
Life before was completely different, and I think all of us get on this path. There's one common theme, one common bond, is that we've struggled in some way, right? We struggled and we want to make it better for other people. So
our pain has a purpose.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. So growing up, I actually felt very lonely my entire childhood, and I didn't know why. I didn't really have answers. I didn't have the awareness that I have now, but it was really hard. I felt separate. I felt very alone. And that's something I kept saying all the time is like, I feel so alone. Okay. And so that was something that just was like deep in my heart, deep in my soul. And I remember being in my bedroom a lot when I was younger and crying a lot. And now I could look back and I understand that it was, every family has their own dysfunction to some degree. So it was a little bit of that, but it was also a lot of me being so sensitive and taking on the energy of the world and not knowing that, not having any idea that I was so open. Empath gets thrown around a lot, but we all are empaths. I feel like we all have kind of different degrees. And I was very, very open. So it was hard for me a lot. Fast forward a little bit, I was an interior architect. So I actually have my master's in interior architecture. I was doing that. I went to grad school for that, which was 4.5 years. And then I did a thesis, which was an experiential wine center where people go in up to the rooftop vineyard that I designed, and then watch the manufacturing process, and then come out through the tasting room, and then come out through the retail. And I designed this whole experience. So I picked a building in Boston and I did it, and it took a year. It was amazing. And through that experience, I didn't really love what I was doing, but I didn't know what else to do. So I'm like, well, let me just go get a job afterwards. And I ended up working at one of the best architecture firms in Boston. So it was a great firm, very prestigious. People were like, oh my God, this is so amazing that you're there. And I wasn't really happy. And I want to throw this out right now. So at this point, I thought that there was something wrong with me because almost every single job I had, I wasn't happy. So I was beginning to think, well, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just not going to ever be happy, right? And, I started kind of diving into that a little bit, but I didn't have my awakening yet, which I'm going to talk about. So I didn't really know what that meant. But, that was like a tough pill to swallow of like, I just wasn't happy and I don't know if I'm ever going to be happy. So I was at this job. I would come home crying a lot. I was sitting there, if anyone knows architecture, I was doing red lines all day, just working on AutoCAD. I was like zooming into urinals in buildings and like fixing like the backing with the tile and coordinating with the engineers. And, every job is important, but I was just like, this is not it. Like, this is not it. And I kept saying I need to help people, but I didn't know what that meant. I had no idea. So this is important to know. I was living with my boyfriend at the time in Boston, and he was like, you're at such a good firm, just kind of suck it up and deal with it. People would love to be there. And I kept saying, but I'm not happy, and I didn't really have a lot of awareness. This was a long time ago. And so fast forward a little bit, it was my 30th birthday coming up, and we decided to go to Paris and then all over France. Okay. So I was really excited to have about 2 weeks off of work. So happy, actually. So we get on the plane. My boyfriend at the time starts acting a little strange. And I asked him, like, what's going on? And he's not really communicating that much. And I'm like, okay, well, just going to kind of let him be. And then we get there and he's just like acting very strange. I tried to talk to him again and he's really not communicating with me. And so I'm like, well, I don't really know what's going on. But when you're ready to talk, like, I'm here. So I kind of gave him a little bit more space and I'm like, oh my God, is he going to propose? Like, is he acting like weird? At this point, we haven't talked about that. And I really wasn't ready for it at all. Like at that point in my life, I mean, that was a hard no, but I was like, well, maybe I can do this, because I'm like, why else is he acting strange? He's so nervous. Oh, bless him. Right. He's so nervous. Then I was like, oh, I feel bad that he's so nervous. Right. So then I'm trying to like nurture him there. So then, we go to dinner at this restaurant that I couldn't wait to be at. Philippe Starck designed it. He was a designer that I loved at the time. I was super excited to be there. And we're at dinner, and he breaks up with me at dinner.
In Paris?
In Paris on my 30th birthday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was great. So there you have that, folks. So at first, I honestly didn't know what was going on. I'm like,
why did he wait till you were in?
You know what? This is the $1 million question that nobody knows. And this is where we have free will in life. Like now in hindsight, which I'll get to, we were not supposed to be together, but we have free will of how we choose to do things. And that was probably not the highlight of his choices, right? Meanwhile, we were in France for about 2 weeks together, traveling around. So it was very awkward.
You broke up at dinner.
Yeah.
And then you traveled
Yes.
together
So
for 2 weeks.
I know, it's crazy. So now, if that happened to me, I mean, peace out, see ya, like bye. Like I'm getting on a plane or I'm going somewhere and I'm going to be good. Calling my girlfriends, we're good. I wasn't, first of all, I didn't, have a lot of money then. I wasn't really in my power then. I was just turned 30. It's a very different place. So it didn't really occur to me that, excuse me, I could get on the plane and just go. Now, I mean, there's this no question. I mean, we would have had a little word and then I would have left, right? So yeah, we were together and it was really, really awkward, let me tell you, and hard. So anyways, I get back and this is where everything changed. I get back and I went on a walk. I was living in his place, so I knew that I had to move out. And I went on a walk just to kind of clear my head and I was really, really upset. And on that walk, I get this download. But again, I don't have any context that that's a download or what this means, but it was this very strong information of you need to move back to California. Okay. And so I was in Boston at the time and I'm from California. So I just kind of knew like this was it. I quit my job. Everyone's like, what firm are you going to? And I'm like, oh, I have no idea what I'm doing. And this was unheard of at the time. Like they were like, what? They're like, how could you just leave here? They're like, oh, are you transferring to the LA office? And I'm like, no, like that. I had no idea. I just had to trust this path, but I had no idea what I was doing. Nobody could understand it. So I go back to, I take a little short stint in New York for a while, which was like, sleeping on couches, figuring out life. Like that was good. I kind of had to get that out of my system, right? But I was crying every day. It was a disaster. So I go back to California, and this was really hard. And this was a huge turning point. I did not have the best relationship with my family growing up. So I haven't lived with them since I was about 18. Okay, so I'm 30 now. It was also 2009. The economy was tanking. There were no design jobs. So I couldn't even find a design job as an interior designer, as an interior architect. Like I couldn't find anything. Everyone I knew was like moving back home with their parents, or they were off getting married and starting their life around 30. So I honestly was hitting rock bottom because I'm like, this is not how I saw it going. I was crying. I felt like the biggest loser, really, like completely like a loser. I'm like, this is not how I pictured 30, right? At that point, it was probably, I say maybe a couple weeks, a month. I don't remember at this point. It was a couple months in, and I started having dreams. And these dreams were so vivid that it would take me about an hour to wake up from them. And I was like, I don't know where I was. Like I would wake up crying. I mean, I was literally somewhere else, and it was like shocking to me. And that kept happening. And then I started having dreams that started showing me things, and then those things would happen during the day. So at this point, I start feeling like this is an absolute twilight zone. And you have to remember, this is in 2009. There's not a bunch of coaches online. There's not everyone talking about the spiritual world. I didn't know anyone talking about this stuff. I told one friend, and she was like, I don't know what's happening, but keep going. And I'm like, I don't know. Keep going where? I don't know what's going on. But I was scared. Also intrigued, but scared. And so then I woke up in the middle of the night, and this changed everything. I woke up, my eyes open, and I see a spirit right in front of me. And I did not grow up seeing that. Like you hear a lot of mediums saying, oh, I grew up and I was seeing spirits as a kid. I did not. I think there was one situation, but I was so scared as a kid, like looking back afterwards, that I just shut it down. I was terrified. So I'm sitting there looking at the spirit, and in my head, I'm like, holy shit, this is real. Like that's my...
Go away. Like you woke up.
No. I woke up. Absolutely. I woke up and it's there. And then after it was probably like 30 seconds. Holy shit, this is real. I'm staring at this. Like I'm awake. I'm not dreaming. I'm like conscious enough. And then it kind of disappeared. That changed everything. From that point on, one, at first I thought I was losing my mind and going crazy. So this is a really important distinction. At that point, I almost thought I needed to tell my parents like something was happening because, again, I have no context of this. And then I realized, wait a minute, if I was really losing my mind, I wouldn't have awareness that I look crazy. And again, I hate to apologize for using the word crazy, but I felt crazy. And so, but I was like, a crazy person doesn't have awareness that they look crazy. They're just in it, right? And I'm like, no. I know how this looks and I have this awareness. So that changed. And I'm like, wait a minute, something is happening. And so I started getting information from Spirit. So when everyone says like, who's your teacher? Spirit was my first teacher, and Spirit is still my teacher. And this is what guides me. I started getting information, and they were like, go meditate. And I'm like, what in the world is meditation? 2009, I mean, like literally no idea. So I'd sit down, and at first I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And they were guiding me, close your eyes, meditate, put on some music, or just sit in silence. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I'm not hearing this as if you're talking to me. It's being impressed into my body, and it's very clear. Just like the download that I got in Boston of saying, I'll go back to California. So I start with this, and I got so deep in this that I would have to set my alarm for an hour because I would be off. I would start getting information, and then I would open my eyes in the meditation and look in front of me. I had a mirror, and I would see the white wall, and I would start seeing, like I would ask questions and I would start seeing the answers. Wow. Like my clairvoyance was just popping out.
Okay, so is this like astral travel, like lucid dreaming?
Clairvoyance. So I was like awake. So I would be in the meditation and get stuff, but then I would open my eyes and just be in that space and start seeing things. Like I would start seeing shapes in the other realms. So no ayahuasca. I didn't even know what ayahuasca was. That, like no plant medicine, just seeing into the other realms. And so this really set me on the path to where I am now. Sorry, long story short, but that's, this set me on the path because, and this is the key that I want everyone to know. I had no idea what was happening and I was so confused. But something in me started connecting in my heart. And for the first time in my life, first time in 30 years, I didn't have that pain of loneliness. And that started to change. And I felt amazing. And I started to think, oh my God, I think I'm here to help people. And I think that there's something here and I'm here to help people in a different way. And so my 30s though, I don't want people to think like, oh, I just saw this and like everything was great. And then I popped up my business. It wasn't like that at all. My 30s were horrific. That was me going through dark night of the soul before I even knew what dark night of the soul was, right? And again, if people know astrology, this was my Saturn return around 30, but I didn't know what Saturn return was at the time. I then found astrology later, but it was just dark night after dark night, clearing out the density in my body, going through this awakening before everyone was talking about this, right? So that's why I know what it's like to go on this journey. I had to do this and I did it alone. I really didn't have a community at the time because nobody around me really understood what was going on. So that changed everything. About a year in, I met someone synchronistically that introduced me to astrology. And that was the start of, okay, this is an amazing tool. And I started using astrology for myself because I'm like, I don't really know who I am anymore. I don't know what's going on. Maybe this can help me. And so I started using this and I was like, there's something here. And so I started studying it. And I've done this before many lifetimes. It's in my cells, it's in my body, and it came back to me very easily. And I started doing chart readings probably within a year. And it morphed into courses and talks and podcasts and everything else that I'm doing now. But it was a journey. So I'm now 16 years into this journey, going on 16 years into this journey. So when I say that I had to go through the ringer to get here, I mean, I had to go through the ringer. My 30s were horrific. It took me a long time to make money because my focus was not build a business to make money. It was me going through my awakening, connect with spirit. What is going on? Like, that's why I stepped into this first. And the money in the business was secondary. And now it's obviously what I do. And it is a business, but it took a long time to get there. So it's been a wild ride.
Yes, that's fascinating because the ability to connect with spirit and have that clairvoyance, I mean, that's something I'm definitely envious of. And I know for some people who have the ability to astral travel and they experience that for the first time, it can be very jarring. It can scare happy because like, what the hell am I looking at? Like, what just happened? And to your point, like back then there weren't retreats and coaches and medicine ceremonies. It was all so new. So I can just imagine you felt even more alone to navigate this by yourself. And, your journey and what you had to go through and you being on the other side of it is so valuable for people to hear because there's someone listening or watching this who is going through their dark night of the soul right now, asking like, when the hell is this going to stop? Like, really, like, when is it going to be over? And for you, it was, a decade plus long journey until you came out on the other side and realized like, okay, I'm here to share this magic, this wisdom with others. And I think, as the coaching and healing space is questioned by many because if they don't understand it, they don't really quite understand or can relate to how someone like yourself who has a gift can actually help others see their truth and to heal, because unfortunately there are many people who are in it for the wrong reasons, who see it as opportunity. And this is why I will suggest to people, like, if you're going to hire a coach or a healer or a shaman or a therapist, whoever it is, find someone who's on the other side of the journey of what you're going through. Find someone who's walked that path already, who's persevered and is on the other side living the life of their dreams, because they're the ones who are going to help you to get through this, right? Of course, we have the answer within us. We always have that, wisdom that's available. However, often we need to see someone who's done it, who's on the other side, living their life of their dreams, be like, oh, okay, Danielle did it. She's got it. Okay, I need to talk to her. She's going to help show me the way, or at least for them to believe that it is possible, right? Now, I I know a bit about astrology because a few of my friends are very passionate about it.
Yeah.
And what really solidified my belief in astrology was when I first learned about the characteristics of a Leo and
Yeah.
and the qualities that a Leo has. And I was like, wow, okay, that's pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Did you know I'm a triple Leo, by the
Oh,
way?
I remember
Yeah, so
parts of
yeah,
your chart. I don't remember the whole thing, but you had so much Leo. I remember leaving you a voice note. I'm like, you are like a Leo times 1,000.
yeah, I'm very, very Leo. Sun, moon, rising, Venus.
Yeah.
All kinds,
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I'm a manifestor to boot.
Oh, you're a
Human design.
manifestor.
Yeah,
Okay.
so like
That makes
so when I
sense.
read about human design and a manifestor and then Leo, and then I recently
Yeah.
learned about my North Node.
Yeah.
And
Where's your North Node?
I think it's Leo also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
As well. So I'm really here to express and create and guide others. And it's like no surprise that this is what I'm doing, right?
From
So
your heart.
yeah, exactly. So when I learned about this, I'm like, wow, okay, that's really relatable
Yeah.
and it makes sense. And then I learned about my brother being a Taurus. I'm like, yep, he's stubborn and great with money. Yep, that's
I'm a
him. You're a
Taurus too.
Taurus.
I'm like, what else are you going to say? I'm a Taurus. Yeah.
And the more I learned about astrology and connected to my friends who were maybe a Virgo or Sagittarius, or my mom's a Libra, I was like, wow, there's really something to it. So a lot of people think astrology is woo-woo. And they're like,
Absolutely.
okay, so how is my date and birth date and this, that, the other time, or, all going to dictate who I am and how I think or behave. So I would love for you to share some wisdom on, the science, or maybe the what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe the explanation or reasoning of astrology and how it really plays a part in who we become, our own individual, unique human.
Yeah. So I do remember your chart. Tons of Leo. That was amazing to see. So, okay. The first thing I want to say is I don't have all the answers, and there's a lot that I don't know. But I would not keep doing this for 16 years if this was bullshit and if this was fake, because first of all, that's my reputation. And also, why am I going to waste my time? Right. I continue this because I see how powerful it is. So beyond even the chart, when you look at someone's transits and timing in your life, it is incredible to see. Like, it is like clockwork. You can see if someone is going through depression. You can see if someone is moving. You can see the vibration behind it. So that it makes people a believer, right? If you didn't believe in it, I can look at someone's chart. I love the people that don't believe in it. And then I look at someone's chart. And I'm like, oh, well, you're, going through Saturn this, Saturn that, and explain it. And they're like, well, how'd you know I was feeling that? I'm like, well, Saturn's sitting on your sun. You're probably a little depressed right now, right? So that's another layer. But astrology to me is our deeply ingrained behavioral patterns. We are wired a certain way. So it doesn't mean like, oh, I'm a Taurus, and that just like, I'm going to use that as an excuse my entire life.
So let me ask you, when does that wiring happen? Like, when is that imprint made that, okay, this is Zarek, this is how he's going to act, this is what he's going to do when? Like, how does that happen?
Some people can say in conception. Some people can say when the soul comes in. To me, I think it's when we take our first breath here on earth.
Okay.
Everything is aligned in an energetic format, and it gets imprinted into our soul. So all of these are tools. A lot of people use human design, gene keys, numerology, astrology, and even like Vedic and Western people are fighting over which one's better. That's not how it works. These are all tools. The universe is quantum. The universe is abundant. There's not one thing that makes it better. So if we first need to get out of that mind frame of like, oh, this is better than that, because that's not how the universe works. I when someone says that, I know that they're speaking from the mind, that they're not speaking from the quantum universe. They're not being the antenna. They're not being the channel. So all these are tools. And if you, at the end of the day, they all kind of combine and they all kind of overlap, right? But to me, it gets imprinted when we take our first breath here on earth. And there are behavioral patterns that I'm going to do. For example, let's just bring this up. I'm going to put myself on the spot here. Listen, as an astrologer, there's no good or bad. There is something in the chart that I have that's probably not, it hasn't been the most fun in love, let me tell you. I have Neptune opposing Venus. And that is, it's really difficult, especially when you're unaware of it. So my teens, 20s, and 30s, until I became aware, I rescued men all the time. Oh, take the puppy dogs, right? Rescue them, transform, and then they go off and there was someone else. And then when I started learning about my chart and I saw that it had this and I started understanding the archetypes of what this energy is, I literally stopped and I put my hands up and I said, oh my God, how did I know I was doing that? And then I realized, wow, I've been doing this my whole life because there's a tendency for me to do this unless I become aware of it and use a higher octave energy. And so that's why I love astrology, because it points out where we're shooting ourselves in the foot. We are creatures of habit. So we're going to be doing the same thing over and over again until we really see and bring it to our awareness of, oh yeah, I do have a tendency to do this.
Got it. Okay, so that's what I want to understand. So even though we are imprinted with certain behaviors and patterns, it is up to us during our lifetime to change, to evolve, and overcome those behaviors and patterns. And this makes sense to me because I am in a 60-week program where I'm learning about channeling energy. I'm learning about our soul's journey from life to life. And there is a knowledge called Kamal knowledge that we are born with, that we bring from our past life, that we don't necessarily have conscious recognition of, but it's kind of in the background playing. And part of that knowledge dictates our patterns, behaviors, the choices we make. And it's up to us to go through life's challenges, like, finding love, healing relationships with parents, whatever there may be, for our soul to grow and evolve.
Yeah.
And having done some work with Dr. Joe Dispenza, what I kind of got from one of his teachings was, in the moment we're born, like our physical form, what we are is actually just projection of that divine light through our multiple ethereal bodies that produce this human form, because matter is the slowest form of energy. So we are this human form with the imprint within us based on our ethereal layers, our bodies. So the information from our past lives, the codes, let's say, which I guess would also be part of what the astrology is, that blueprint of who we are in our physical form is a result of information and codes that have, I guess, been passed down through our different lives. They kind of come with our soul. So then if we are this projection or the hologram of the projection of the God consciousness into human form, then the time we're born, where we're born, the circumstances we're born are all part of that projection that create the human that we are.
I love, love, love what you said.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. That was powerful.
That's my understanding of it from what I've learned.
Yes.
And it's like, rather than change the person, it's like if you're shining a light through a film and it creates this image, but you don't like this image, do you change the image or do you change the film?
Yeah.
Because when you change the film, the light that shines through changes the image. And we're all trying to change the image.
Yeah.
And we're not realizing that it's the ethereal bodies, the astral body, mental body, the psychic body, emotional body, pain body. When we do that work, the physical hologram changes.
Yes. You have to start there. So I love everything you said. The way I see it is, this is a bit of our personality self. So it's like a jacket that we're wearing in this lifetime. I still have the memories of and take on my ancestral DNA, and you have your ancestral DNA that's embedded in our cells. We come into this kind of uniform that I put on. I am a Taurus at the end of the day. And like, whether someone likes it or not, there are behavioral patterns that I'm going to act out. It's imprinted on me. So we have that, but then we also have our shit, right? So regardless of being a Taurus or whatever, it's important to work on the behaviors, our subconscious, our patterns, our field, work on a soul level. That's where we change. And then you can move into the higher expression of being a Taurus, or higher expression of like my Cancer moon, higher expression of this Venus to Neptune. So lower expression, for just one example, of Venus to Neptune is like a fantasy in relationship, thinking everyone is your soulmate, right? I'm writing a book on that because I had such amazing experiences that it's going to be a book, right? And I learned projecting someone to be something that they're not, right? Seeing their potential when they're not already there.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
I know. I feel like we have a lot of the same stories of that. And then the higher expression of this is being a channel of the divine, truly doing work that's higher self, soul work, artistry, beauty, divinity, like really getting to that level of you are the channel, not being you as an ego, clearing this out so that you can be this beautiful clear channel and give information. So, and again, there's a big jump from the lower octave to the higher octave. And then I say we have 50,000 shades or 50,000 million, trillion shades of gray in between, because we're choosing every day. And so that's our journey, is from moving from that lower octave to the higher octave. And it's not perfect. It's not like we get here. It's not like, oh, I have it all figured out, I am here. It's like, no, over here, and then I learn and I'm here, and then we spiral back to there, and then we come back to here. And that's our journey. So yes, it's so encompassing. That's why the work I do is so much more than just astrology, because astrology is an amazing tool. But if I was just talking about astrology, I mean, I've capped out of that, So we go into the soul, we go into the realms, we go into energy, we go into ancestry work. It's so much more, and it's beautiful. And they're all tools.
Yes. And in order to even be open to that, you need to do the foundational work of first getting to know who you are outside of this identity that we've created, the false self that we project to the world. So that is the first step, is to become self-aware and self-conscious of the fact that you're having thoughts that actually aren't serving you. And often they're thoughts that aren't even yours, they're beliefs that you've inherited. That is the first step to then be able to differentiate that, to then be able to start to go within and notice your patterns and notice your behaviors, and then consciously choose, well, do I want to keep saving men?
Yeah.
Or do I want to keep believing that she's going to be amazing in 10 years and I'm just going to invest into her now, hoping on the future, right? It's when we start to become conscious and notice those patterns, we can now make choices that are aligned.
It's all the choices.
And that's where I think most people are lost, in the sense that they're living an unconscious life. And as Carl Jung says, until we make the unconscious conscious, life will happen, and we'll call it destiny.
Yep.
And that is why it's so important to have a practice where you get to slow down, be with your thoughts, and just start to question, are you living in alignment with what you actually want? Are you being intentional with your time and your energy? And then when you start to notice that, then there are these tools, whether it be breath work, plant medicine, whether it be meditation, and the deeper work that you do that really has people understand, like, you're a soul with a human body, and that soul has a purpose, and that soul has a message. And our soul is always trying to speak to us.
Every day, every moment, every second. Yeah.
We got to get off our phones.
Yeah. It's the distractions.
We have to make time for nature and to go within. Yeah. So astrology is one of the many tools that people can access that you help them with. And for someone who's listening or watching this and they are curious to implement astrology and what it is you teach about into their practice, into their routine, or just really even just to peel back the layers, as you said, for them to get back to their truest self so they can access those answers. How can someone begin to dabble in this and begin to implement this into their life?
Well, I've made it easy for everyone. I have tons of courses online, no, really, but the first step is finding someone that you resonate to help guide you. There's a lot of information online, and a lot of people get scared with what they read. And you have to understand that this is Google, this is, something else. It's not accurate. You need to understand the archetypes. You need to understand the energy, and also it's the interpretation of the reader. But I would say, start with just the basics, like look at the signs, start understanding what the signs are. Everything is an archetype. Go through that, go through the planets, start learning that, and then, start kind of weaving it together. I have a series called Astrology Mystery School, level 1, 2, and 3. I have something called Astro Hacks, where I take a small part of the birth chart in like an hour or an hour and a half and dive in to make it easier for people. So I have made it accessible for people because this is a high level concept that's been around for a long time. People say it's very new age, but there's actually nothing new age about astrology. It's in the Bible. It's in the sealing of Dendera, is that the name of the temple in Egypt. This has been around since the beginning of time. So this is actually not new age, right? It becomes new age and people start playing it out. And, there's a lot of things on Instagram that are fun and funny, but to me, it's not the true mystical craft.
And I do believe that astrology is technology. It's a program or software, let's call it that, was used, it still is used, but was more, I would say, common knowledge and practice back in another time.
Absolutely.
When people were more connected to themselves. Because I remember the first time I did an energy reading, a remote energy reading, and somebody's telling me all these things. And I thought, I'm on the phone with some guy in San Diego who I'm paying a couple $100, and he's just spitting out some information knowledge. I'm thinking, this guy's got the best gig in the world. And at first I was kind of skeptical too, but I'm in Costa Rica, and energy readings are like a normal thing. And then as I started to learn more about it, I started to understand that we have our physical body, but then we have our psychic body, our mental body. There's the information body. So people like yourself and other mediums, tarot readers or whoever, they're able to tap into these different bodies that we have to see the information that's there. So for them, they're just reading and sensing into what they're picking up on. And because time actually isn't linear, and all of time is happening at the same time, they're able to see past and future, and that they have an ability to tune into frequencies that I'm not going to say that we can't, it's just we don't know how to access, because I do believe that telepathy, seeing the future, seeing the past, being able to communicate or just even interpret information from other realms, dimensions, is something that all of us humans have access to.
Every single one.
When we know how to activate our pineal gland, when we know how to activate the internal technologies and programs that we have within us, that we have intentionally been, that's been suppressed and has been designed so that we don't have access to that. Because if we knew that we can have answers to anything we need, and that we can even heal ourselves with our own energy, that a lot of what we pay the government and pharmaceutical companies for is actually a total scam. Well, that would put a lot of businesses out of business. And of course, they don't want that. So I invite those who are watching or listening that are curious to learn more about astrology, quantum healing, our amazing capabilities that our bodies have, to be curious and learn, whether it be Dr. Joe Dispenza, whether it be Danielle Paige, like there are many people out there. They are real, they're legit. And to your point, you got to find somebody that you resonate with, that when they speak and you hear them, there's like a gnosis. That like something in you is like, this is truth. I may not understand it.
Totally.
But it feels like truth to me. Because that is, and let your heart guide you. Get out of your head. Let your heart show you the way. Right? So for people who are interested in working with you, for somebody who, is like, okay, this sounds fascinating. I need to learn more. How can they contact you, or what's the best way for them to, I know you mentioned you have programs, but what is it that you offer that supports people on this journey of diving deeper into themselves?
I have so many courses available online, from connecting with your soul, connecting with your human body, business course for spirituality, astrology courses. I mean, I have so many. So you can always do that online. But I also, and then every once in a while, I go through rotations of, launching new courses, and when something comes through and something feels good and juicy to me. But right now I have my Cosmic Body Collective. So that is a membership that I have. It's a very low price point membership, and I give so much value because I didn't want people to not be able to get help and growth if they didn't have like $10,000, right? So it's only $38 a month, and I give so much value, and we're in an app, and I'm giving you downloads every day of all the things I've learned and learning going through to walk through life. So I call it the gym membership for your soul, because it's not just like a one-time thing. It's how do we go through life? How do we walk this path together? And, it's the changes that we make every single day. That's what changes our life, truly.
And that's the thing. It's not going to be this one choice that you make that changes everything. It's just about living in alignment with your higher self and allowing yourself to be guided and really just following your blueprint.
Yeah.
Because there is a blueprint to a manifestor. There is a blueprint to a Taurus and a Leo. And what I've learned through human design is when you are acting in opposition to what your human design is, you're creating resistance in your life. And that resistance is what depletes your life force energy. Yep. When you can trust that there is a design and a flow that will help you to operate at your highest level, life becomes so much easier. Yep. Now, I'm not saying I pay attention to mine. I definitely need to rest and recharge more often, but being the Leo manifestor that I am, I just go all the time.
Manifestors need breaks because I'm a projector, so we take pauses and manifestor does. You need that pause.
Yes.
That's really important.
Yeah, and I definitely am looking forward to taking a nice pause when I get to Austin, Texas, and just taking some time off. But just like you, super passionate about creating and sharing all this goodness with people because, it's time. People are waking up. We're in a very interesting period of human history where people are realizing, okay, it doesn't have to be this way. Yeah. How we've been indoctrinated and brainwashed to think that we need to work 9 to 5 for 40 years to retire at 65 is just crazy.
Yep.
And it's this work is more needed now than ever before. And, I'm so happy that people are finally receptive to the things that you and I both, teach about. Yeah. And, it's been beautiful to learn more about you and your journey.
Thank you.
And, I thank you for the work that you do. I'm super curious to know more because, I would love to understand myself on that deeper level and start making choices that are aligned with the heart-led Leo leader that I am. So I just want to say thank you for taking the time to share all that you do with us. And I'm going to include your website and contact information down below. But is there anything else you'd like to say or share that you're super excited about right now that you'd love people to learn about?
I'd actually like to say this, and this is up to you if you want to cut this or not.
Okay.
So I would love to say this. So we met back in Miami. It was like a year ago or something.
I was there June and July last year.
Your energy is completely different and in the most incredible way. Not to say that it was bad, and I don't want that to come off like that because it wasn't. It's not bad. It's just way deeper into your heart now.
Thank you.
Yeah, because it was really in the head before. And again, this is not judgment, but I just want to let you know I can see all the work that you've done. And your field and your aura is completely different. And you are way more in your heart, still in a masculine way. And in your heart, and it's beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And yes, it has been quite the year.
Yeah.
Yesterday was the end of my 6-month feminine cleanse.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
So then did you start off with a bang or what?
I don't think I'll be doing any banging anytime soon. I'm going to slowly integrate into relating.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you for acknowledging me.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I feel seen and heard. Absolutely.
Good.
And it has been a year of deep work and more transformation. I would say probably one of the biggest things is I have a much deeper connection to my mother.
Oh.
Yeah. And my father. It's been a journey. And I also feel that spending time in cities and doing this work and staying in the heart, but still also being in my masculine and making shit happen. Yeah. Especially with creating. It feels good. It's what puts me in my flow. And I just really know that I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing here, and it feels good. And I'm just grateful for people like you and just amazing people that are showing up in my life that are aligned with my mission, and we get to support one another.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on.
My pleasure.
I love this talk.
For being here. And I look forward to learning more about you and
thank you.
Your program for sure. So thank you, Danielle.
Thank you. Okay.
If you enjoyed this podcast and you learned something valuable, then please hit subscribe so you don't miss the future episodes. I'd love it if you share this with a friend and leave us a review. Your feedback is so important to our growth. Thank you for supporting the Path to Purpose podcast. I appreciate you. I'll see you in the next episode.